All right, now that you've got your paper set up with your 4 rectangles, the first step you're going to do of your actual drawing is drawing in the negative space around the head and shoulders. So remember, the negative space is all the empty space, all the background space. And you're really going to use your squares of your grid to help you do that. So I'm going to start in this square here, and I notice in this square, or this rectangle, there's a negative white shape that looks like this. This is my negative shape. So I'm going to measure about how far down the square it starts. I'd say it's about 1/3 of the way down. So I find right here about 1/3 of the way down my square is right there. And then I'm also going to look how far over does it go, right? I'd say it maybe goes about 1/4 of the way over. So probably about right here. I find it can be helpful to put those little marks in first just to give yourself guidelines, make sure you get things accurate. Then I'm just going to look at this shape right here and draw it in. All right, so now I have the same negative space there. Then I'm going to continue it up around here. I already know that it starts right here, and I see that it ends right up by the top, so I'll put a little mark right there. And then I'm just looking at that curve and trying to do the most accurate job possible, emulating it, drawing it the same in my grid. Right, so something like that. I made it go a little too far over, so I'll bring it in. So don't be afraid to go back and make some major adjustments if you kind of check on your grid and things don't look quite right. You can always change it. Probably a good idea to be doing those lines pretty lightly in case you do need to change it. And even here, I'm like, that's not quite the right curve. I think it kind of comes in at a little more of a slant like this and is a little more round at the top. So you can definitely adjust it. Okay, so there I have that part of my negative space there. Now I'm going to continue it around over here. And all of these shapes, anything that's going on in the background that's not part of your head or shoulders or clothing or anything, you are not going to draw this in. So anything in the background you're just going to ignore. Some of you, I actually went in and drew the outline of the hair or the clothes or the head for you just with a pencil line so that you could see where the person ended and the background began, because we're only going to later put a solid color in the background, nothing else. Anyway, back to our drawing. So we're going around down like this. And again, I'm going to put a little mark. I think it probably goes to about right there. And then I'm just eyeing the shape of the negative space. And then when it crosses, it kind of comes down here. It goes right to the corner, so I know this needs to come around there. All right, so there I have the shape of my negative space. Now, before you move on to getting in any of the smaller features, depending on kind of the setup of your portrait, what your person, how they're positioned, what they look like, it might be helpful to get in some guidelines just kind of around the basic shape of their face or hairline. It'll kind of depend on your person. But I'm just going to put some rough guidelines in where I see the shape of this face. And again, I'm going to use my grid lines to help me figure out. So I know that this crosses. I might be tempted to draw my face all the way over here, but I noticed that this black hair fills up almost that whole grid square. So I'm going to bring this instead down kind of like this. I'm not drawing in all the details yet. I'm just sort of getting in the basics of where that shape of the head is. Now later I'm going to go back and I'm going to touch up these lines and put in the actual contour continuous line that I see. But right now I'm just kind of putting in a guideline to help me later so that my proportions stay accurate. So that's probably not exactly right, but at least I have a general idea of where her face is going to go. And then also I see this shape down here. I'm going to get kind of that shape in too. And you're going to have to use your best judgment on your drawing if there's any main big shapes that would be helpful to just kind of sketch in first. So once you've got in your main shapes, right, then you'll be ready to move on to actually start the contour aspect of your drawing, which I'll show you in the next video.